So we're going to do a responsive reading. You don't need to take out your hymnal because we'll have the words up above here, but if you would like to, it is number 584. I will do the first line, you'll be doing the response. A Network of Mutuality by Martin Luther King Jr. We are caught in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied in a single garment of destiny and justice. There are some things in our social system to which all of us ought to be maladjusted. We must evolve for all human conflict, a method which rejects revenge, aggression, and retaliation. Before it is too late, we must narrow the gaping chasm between our proclamations of peace and our lowly deeds, which precipitate and perpetuate war. We must pursue peaceful ends through peaceful means. May it be so.
It really felt important to start with that responsive reading this morning and weave it into our service as a touch point in time and a touch point for our current moment in time. Our great hymnal was originally published in 1993, nearly 25 years ago. Since then, we have changed, our faith has changed, and the world has certainly changed. Casting our memory back, we might simultaneously marvel at how far we've come and grieve our failure to fully live into the promises and dreams of this adaptation of Dr. King's words. The themes he emphasized are themes of discontentment, mutuality, peace, hope, and the power of love among us. I'll note, and perhaps this might shock you in the same way that it shocks me, that these are the only words referenced to Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. in our great hymnal. A curious thing to notice, given the importance of Dr. King in our national history, the challenges and changes he moved, his remarkable leadership, and the fact that he was murdered by a white man in 1967. Our faith has changed, we have changed, and we are more attentive to noticing the voices and experiences that are missing from our faith practice. The Commission on Institutional Change and Widening the Circle of Concern at the Unitarian Universalist Association offered the following recommendation to congregations. And they encouraged us to develop more theological resources to center justice work in our faith and make clear the interconnection between action in the world and spiritual development. In 1993, there was just one reference in our gray hymnal to Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Some 25 years after the publication of the Gray Hymnal, we celebrate, remember, and recommit ourselves to the living tradition Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King and his legacy of love and justice invites us into. And we respond not as a defensive answer to what was missing from our theological frames of the past, but rather as a celebration of the aspirations of our faith journey. Our living tradition of love that is nourished by change and animated by growth and possibility. A celebration of putting our faith into action as we build the beloved community together. Throughout his life, Dr. King held fast to a theology of love that was essential to his practice of nonviolent direct action and movement building. For Dr. King, love is the incarnation of God's presence in the world, the animating divine force through which the beloved community is realized. He made distinctions between the modes and moods of love, drawing from the Greek, which differentiated between eros, romantic love, philia, friendship love, and agape, a universal love that permeates and animates the world and our lives. Dr. King threaded agape love through his commitment to justice. He writes, "Agape does not begin by discriminating between worthy and unworthy people. It begins by loving others for their sakes. And," he continues, "it makes no distinction between a friend and enemy. It is directed to both. Agape is love seeking to preserve and create community." We can notice in King's agape love the heartbeat of a narrative of a Christian redemption, one that believes in the possibility of transformation for individuals and the world. And at the very heart of this possibility for transformation is the power of relationship. To create community together, new communities, the beloved community. Love comes alive in relationships, and through our relationships, we move power into the world and create the change we long for. I think this resonates with how we as Unitarian Universalists imagine love at the center of our lives, at the center of our faith. Article 2 of our association bylaws reads, "Love is the power that holds us together and is at the center of our shared values. We are accountable to one another for doing the work of living our shared values through the spiritual discipline of love." I find that so powerful. And I hear echoes of Dr. King's agape love here and notice marvelous opportunities to live our faith inspired and animated by love. It's a journey of self-discovery, a journey of community building, a journey of accountability and responsibility, and it's an invitation to stay in the struggle of love. The discipline of love as it reaches out powerfully into the world, speaking truth to power and changing violent systems that harm people and the earth. And Dr. King also reminds us, as we link power and love together, that power without love is reckless and abusive, and love without power is sentimental and anemic. Power at its best is love implementing the demands of justice, and justice at its best is power correcting everything that stands in its way. The spiritual discipline of love is an invitation to live courageously, to love courageously, as our congregational mission calls us to. And we can hear Reverend Dr. Cornell West here too, who reminds us justice is what love looks like in public. In the days ahead, as we lean into the spiritual practices of love, the ecology of our community will move, respond, grow, adapt, and learn to rise to the occasions that most need us. We will be a sanctuary against tyranny. We will strengthen our community of care and networks of mutual aid. We will bring our voice, our presence, and our power to the public square. We will not back down from the work ahead, and we will need to love each other right into those days. And as I say this, and I feel it too, I know that so many of us are exhausted, afraid, and unsure if their bodies, hearts, and spirits can show up to whatever is coming next. And these are the places where those of us with privilege and capacity will need to show up. I have a quick story here. And it starts a long, long time ago. A long, long time ago, I was on a boat in the middle of the Mediterranean when a wind and sea storm fell upon us, and we found ourselves crashing through the waters, up and down. And it was fast becoming clear that we were in a very dangerous situation. As we approached the main harbor on the coast to get away from the storm, we learned that the harbor was full and we had to seek alternative accommodations, which is scary when you're in the sea. I remember vividly the panic in the captain's eyes as he turned our boat away from the harbor. I remember praying. I was absolutely terrified. Thankfully, the captain knew all the nooks and crannies of the Turkish coast. He knew. And he carefully steered us into a small hidden harbor, just deep enough for the boat to anchor into, carefully obscured by the tall, rocky hills on three sides. That night, we sat in silence, listening to the winds in the harbor, watching the lights of the town we couldn't reach glimmer. We sat in gratitude for the wisdom and knowledge of the captain, for the gentle lifting of the sea, and the vastness of the night sky. The next morning, the storm passed, and our little boat ventured out into the sea again. I share this story because it continues to hold lessons for me. Inside that experience of feeling helpless, afraid, confused, I learned a bit about justice work. I appreciate the way this experience exposes a trope prevalent in our culture that tells us that the only way to get to the other side of a storm is to go directly through it. I'm not sure that's true. That's a pretty brutal response to life, and it points at a redemptive suffering and rugged individualism that serves as the scaffolding for white supremacy culture. I'm not sure all of us need to be in harm's way when the storms arrive. We can create harbors and sanctuaries, spaces where we protect those who are hurting, afraid, and vulnerable, sheltering seekers with safety from the upheavals of our world. This is also living the spiritual discipline of love. This is how we build the beloved community. On the journey ahead, some of us will rest. Some of us will search for the safety they so deserve. Some of us will be protectors of our neighbors, offering our privilege as a loving shield. Yesterday, at the People's March, we heard the fear in our community, the worry, a collective longing to protect people from the forces of tyranny, even as we show up to resist, even as we show up to create new realities of justice and love. And I feel hopeful. I know of the power of the people. I know the power of Unitarian Universalism. But I also know we have to be careful. We have to resist being the religious progressives of the past that Dr. King admonished in his letter from Birmingham jail. Religious progressives that fail to show up to tyranny and violence, only performatively dipping our toes into the shallow end of justice work. Today, we have to discover the depth of our commitment and love and make waves that ripple into the world, transforming it, eroding the evil carved into the edifices of power at the highest levels. And we can build safe harbors along the way, nurturing people and our community as we go. As I said yesterday, we are the architects of love, inspired by hope. It feels bittersweet to celebrate a tradition that it feels like is being taken from us, even as we speak. But I know here that we have everything we need to meet the days ahead.